So we got Dr. Mike Halal here.
Dr. Arash Maksudi.
We are the pre-up guys, and today the topic that we want to talk about is knee-bola, or knees over toes. Knee-bola, I heard that one a lot. Basically, it's anytime the knees go over the toes. There are so many of our patients that we see in the clinic, and a lot of questions that you guys ask online. Oh my God, I've been told by my therapist or athletic trainer, whatever it may be, that my knees can't go over my toes. And we want to talk about that right now. Kind of lay the law down.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is that you can't strengthen something without stressing it in the first place. Mm-hmm. And so this idea of, I don't want to stress my knee too much. Well, maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you need to stress it a little bit to strengthen it. And the idea is that you want to stress it the right amount. And so this is the idea behind, it's not necessarily bad, but you have to use the right context and make sure the intent is being met with an exercise or an activity of daily movement that you go through.
Context and volume are key. So this whole knees over toes thing, it happens all the time when we are in daily life. I'm sitting right now. I'm going to turn my chair around a little bit. The moment I get up out of my chair, okay, look at my knee. My knee is maybe on my ankle right now. The moment I get up, my knees went over my toes. It just happened. I didn't even think about it. It just literally just happened. We're going to go outside a little bit later. We're going to go up and down some stairs. We're going to kneel. We're going to do a lot of different activities. The knees go over toes a ton of times throughout the day, and you probably just never thought that has happened before.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the reality is that you can maybe at first, if you have knee pain, work around knee pain by stressing the hips a little bit more to get up. For example, that same example Mike gave, most people do get up like this, but if someone has really bad knee pain, what they're likely going to do is sit back and then get up to avoid stressing it. Now, that's working around the problem. And so at first that may be helpful to offload the knee, let whatever regenerate or heal, but then eventually you want to start loading it to prehab and prevent that injury from happening in the first place.
Yeah, that context is huge. And I guess it's not always bad advice. If someone says, don't let your knees go over your toes, maybe you just had a knee injury. Maybe your knee is super sensitive. It just happened yesterday, my knee hurts. That's actually a really good strategy temporarily while the knee is super hot. My brother actually just texted me yesterday when skiing, twisted his knee, said it hurts a little bit right now squatting and stairs. So I gave him some recommendations. Okay, let's minimize squatting and stairs for a couple days, but eventually let's load that back up again. It's all about eventually getting back there. You can't be scared of doing that activity all the time.
Yeah, no, 100%. In the like a squat, for example, to maximally squat, you need to load the knee a little bit, but it's finding a good balance between loading the hip and loading the knee. And so where is that balance between stressing the knee too much versus too little? This is the idea that we always think about as a therapist with how much to load the knee. So
I'm trying to think, where did this whole knees over toes thing come from? I almost feel like, I think as a population, there's a lot more people with knee pain than maybe with hip pain. So that's why people have been like, let's take stress away from the knee. When we do lunges, when we do squats, let's not let the knees go over the toes. Because I think a lot of people, there's more people with knee pain than hip pain. There's not a lot of people with high hamstring tears or proximal tendinopathies or glute tendinopathies where they're sensitive to hip loading.
I would say, majority of people are knee dominant. And so if we shift that a little bit more to the hip for a majority of people, that will probably balance people out a little bit more. And I think that's a lot of the thought as well with, maybe we need to load the glutes a little bit more. And most people don't really have strong glutes. If you look at the average person, that is.
Sure. So let's do this. We're going to go through a couple examples first to kind of illustrate this point of how often the knees go over the toes. And then more importantly for you guys listening at home, we're going to talk about training methods. We're going to talk about squats, lunges, and steps. Those are the three most popular types of movement patterns that people are going to train, and how to initially maybe train around knee pain, which is super important if you just had an injury, but then eventually how to put stresses back on the knee and what volume maybe you should be thinking of, or what's good pain versus bad pain when we're loading the knee. And we'll kind of go from there. How's it sound?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first example, like I said, is getting up out of a chair. Your knees are probably going to go over your toes. If I was kneeling down to go get something, and I'm down here, and I'm getting up, my knee is coming over my toes every single time I get down to kneel. And it's not even this front leg. We're like, I could just come off this front leg. It's actually this back leg too. My knee is way over my toes right now. It's probably a foot over. It's a whole shin length. As I come up, my knee is significantly over my toes as I'm getting up. And this is happening countless times throughout the day.
All the time.
Countless times.
Right there.
So we're gonna go to a big one. There's some stairs outside. You can follow us. The stairs, I think, are a big one. Now, for many people, they may have pain with going up and down stairs. So this would be a time that maybe we do make some modifications. Say you don't have pain going up and down stairs, but you're still scared of your knee going over your toe. Well, your knees have been going over your toe for a very long time. Going up, they don't go over the toes that much. They're really kind of on the ankle, like right above the ankle. I'm gonna go sideways. But going down, the only way for me to reach the stair below is for my knee to go significantly, I'm gonna go sideways over my toes as I go down. That's just an act of going up and down stairs. And we go up and down stairs countless times throughout the day. This is happening all the time. So think about this. We're doing this, it depends on how much you're walking, but we're doing this a lot as we go throughout our daily lives.
Yeah, and people will say, oh, I don't want to go downstairs because that hurts my knee. And so they'll just go up, and then when they go down, a lot of times people will avoid stressing that knee. So if it's this knee that bothers me, they'll load the other knee and then just do a step 2 method. But really the key is that you want to work into this. So if you have a smaller step at home, this is a perfect time just to load that knee and just do some step downs and train it and build that resiliency again. The key is not to just avoid things that hurt it for the rest of your life. That's just a temporary thing. That's a temporary workaround. So again, as obviously like Mike said, going upstairs, more hip dominant. So I'm using more of my glutes, but then going down, it ends up just being more knee dominant. The nature of the movement requires me to bring my knee over my toe to step down. I can't step down without bringing my knee over my toe, or else I'm going like this. It's just impossible. So it's just the nature of the movement, and we do this all the time throughout the day.
So Rosh is talking about different strategies that you may take, other people take when we go up and down stairs if you have some pain. We're gonna head back in the gym right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna show you how to train first around knee pain. If you just had an injury, like my brother, he went skiing, had a twisting knee injury, it's hurting him right now. It's like, okay, how do we modify your training? Because I don't want to say don't do anything and rest. That's probably one of the worst advice I can give to him. He's an active guy, he's super, super active. I'm like, okay, train all your upper body, keep your core all the same. When it comes to leg exercises, squats, lunges, and steps, here are some modifications we can make. So I guess we'll come over to the squat bar first. So on a normal squat, say, I got Rosh in the squat.
Yeah, let's do it.
So a normal squat, Rosh is gonna do, we'll do a high bar squat. So what we're gonna look at, or maybe even before, let's put the bar back. So just show a normal squat, and it's gonna stay in the bottom of your squat. So when you're in a squat, our legs, all of them, ankles, knees, and hips are the ones distributing the force. When you hear what's called a hip pattern versus a knee pattern, it basically just says where is a majority of the stress and the weight on either the hips or the knees. So the differences between the two, we're gonna over-exaggerate this a little bit. A knee pattern is gonna be like this. It's gonna be a very upright torso, knee super far above, but this is still a squat. This is still a squat. We'll show how it looks like in a front squat in a bit. This would be a knee dominant pattern. Arash doesn't have the best mobility, so it's gonna
But my weight's on my toes for the most part.
The weight's on the toes. So you think about the forefoot, these are my toes, the weight's gonna be right over here for him. A hip dominant pattern, he's gonna shift the weight away from his forefoot into his heel. He's gonna sink back, his chest is gonna go lower, his knees may not even bend as much. This is more of a hip dominant squat pattern. And it almost looks like, for those of you at the gym all the time, almost looks like a deadlift setup. And that's gonna be much more hip dominant. So say we are doing some sort of back squats or front squats, and say you have the range of motion to do all different types of squats. A front squat, a high bar, or a low bar. A high bar is gonna be in your middle, and Arash can demonstrate what a high bar squat looks like first. So when he's in this high bar squat, we're gonna say, for lack of better words, it's an equal pattern. It's an equal between a hip and a knee dominant pattern because the weight's equally distributed. We'll just say that for now. Say Arash had some pain with this high bar squat. What he can do is he can be racking. We can go to maybe like more of a low bar squat. So when the bar is positioned a little bit lower, it's gonna cause his trunk to dump forward a little bit more. And what we showed earlier before the bar was there, this is gonna be a more hip dominant pattern. So because it's more hip dominant, say it was 50-50 before, now it's like, we'll call it 40-60. It doesn't eliminate the stress on the knee. There's still a lot of stress on the knee, but it takes a little bit off him. And if he's able to train around his knee pain, and the other squat hurt, and now he does a low bar, and it doesn't hurt as much at the same weight, I'm gonna say, okay, let's keep doing this. This is a good way to train around that knee pain right now. And we'll go ahead and squat it. Now we're gonna go to lunges. So traditionally, I think it's almost lunges where you hear the most. Okay, knees should never go over the toes. Knees should never go over the toes. There's a lot of different forms of lunges that we can do. Let's keep it away for now. So on lunges first, we'll go, you don't have to do weight.
Oh.
Yeah. So we'll go lunges. So maybe we'll start with a backwards lunge or split stance lunge. So Raj is gonna be in a split stance lunge. His weight right now is right in the middle, right in his arch. The knee is dead center. We're gonna call this our 50-50, our middle. This is not knee dominant, this is not hip dominant, this is just right in the middle. Okay, now keeping the weight in the middle now, you're gonna do a backwards lunge. So you're gonna do posterior lunge. We're gonna start together, take a step back and do it. So posterior lunge, and let's keep the weight in the middle if you can. So posterior lunge is gonna be, if the weight stays exactly the same, the weight's still in the middle of his foot, it's gonna be more hip dominant because he's going backwards. In order for him not to fall over, he has to dump his chest down. He's gonna get a little bit more bend through his hip and a little bend through his knee. This is now kind of what we talked about maybe a 60-40 strategy that he can use. So say he just aggravated his knee, he may want to do backwards lunges instead of, now we'll show the posterior lunge. You're gonna step forward with the right foot. Anterior, sorry. And now he's gonna be doing a forward lunge. With this forward lunge that you can see here, the knee is gonna translate over the toes. It's just part of the movement pattern that we're asking him to do. That's gonna provide a little bit more stress to the knee, not some crazy stress that's gonna blow up your knee and you're all of a sudden you're gonna pass out and die. This is literally just a little bit more stress on the knee because the movement pattern's a little bit different. So if that's irritable, maybe we say, okay, instead of doing forward lunges on the workout today for my brother, I wanna say, let's go backward lunges. Lateral lunges is your mix between the two. We won't demonstrate it, but it's basically the middle ground between the forward and the back. Those rules are exactly the same when you do steps. So a lot of people like doing step ups or step downs. The rules are literally exactly the same. So if Arash wants to do a backward step down first, which you can see over here, his trunk, in order for him not to fall over, so so he has good balance. Don't change your trunk angle and try to step backwards. He's just gonna he's pretty strong. You're basically just gonna fall backwards. If you don't get your weight forward as you're trying to go backwards, like right now, I'm literally just gonna fall backwards. So the only way to counterbalance yourself is for your chest to come forward. Yeah. So in this backward step down, or if you're doing a step up or whatever it may be, your chest is probably gonna come forward a little more. This is a good strategy if you just hurt your knee. But eventually, maybe let's show a forward step down. You're eventually gonna wanna get that knee to translate forward over the toes a little bit more, which is going to apply, again, just a little bit more stress to the knee, not some crazy amount, just a little bit more stress to that knee, and it's eventually going to strengthen up all the tissues in the front, patellar tendon, quad tendon, everything in the front that may be sensitive. After that sensitivity goes down a little bit, you want to stress it a little bit. And then the lateral lunge, you can see facing this way, or that way, is an intermediate. So the lateral step down is going to be, again, that intermediate zone between the two end range extremes. So this knees over toes thing, it's just a concept. It's something that happens all the time as we go throughout daily living, but we can change how much the knee goes over toes depending on how sensitive someone may be. Yeah. With the goal being, do you want to get those knees over the toes? Because say someone hurt themselves, say someone's going skiing, say you're a skier. When you're skiing, you're here the whole time. These knees are over the toes. Say I'm gonna go on maybe 20, it's a good day, I'm going on 20, 30 runs in a day, and my knee hurts because of it. Well, I didn't have a serious injury. Maybe my knee just wasn't exposed to the demands of what I was asking it to do, knees over toes for an entire day. So if I wanted to prehab that, I'd maybe in my training, say now I'm not hurt, I'd maybe want to do more forward step downs than backward step downs in my training, because my goal is to be able to ski for 8 hours with my knees over my toes for a lot of it.
Exactly. Same thing with like jumping athletes as well. You'll see like jumpers oftentimes get this patella tendon issue or knee issue. And that's because the nature of the jump is you have to load these tissues. No one's gonna jump like this and then jump up. That doesn't make any sense. You're not gonna have as much force production. So people are gonna have to load the knees. If that's what someone needs to get back to doing, then you have to train into that, like Mike's saying, for that skier. So you have to really think about the goal with these exercises. And if the goal is, okay, I'm in pain and I need to train around it, then start with more of a hip dominant movement. Things like step ups or really deep low bar squats, so you get more of the hip, and that way you can keep these strong, and then as you feel more and more comfortable, you can start loading the knee a little bit more and more. Same thing with like the opposite. If the hip was a problem, then exactly. You'd load the knee a little bit more first, with doing things like forward lunges or front squats, and then start working into something that requires a little more hip or glute activation.
Yeah. General rule of thumb. So you're like, okay, so when do I make this transition of when is it less sensitive? So a good rule of thumb is, okay, so say I did some training. Say it's been, we'll call it a week. Say I did some training. Say my baseline pains are like a 3. I go through my training session. The pain's not like great. I don't think it's like causing me any damage. Maybe it goes up a little bit, but I'm not alarmed by it. I'm okay by the level of discomfort. And then the next day, it's back at my baseline of a 3. It didn't like spike up to like a 7 or 8, or I'm not like walking around and limping the next day. I can't even go up and down stairs. If it's not interfering with my day-to-day activities, I'm gonna say that that's an okay training stimulus. Now say all of a sudden now going up and down stairs is super painful and it wasn't before. I'm gonna say, okay, that was a little bit too much. Maybe I went to front squats too fast and I should stay at like a high bar squat, or maybe my volume, which is usually a lot of it's all volume. I did too much volume. I did too many reps times sets times intensity, whatever that may be.
Yeah, and usually you want to progress 5 to 10% per week, but you'll hear all the time, oh, I got back to running, like back to what I used to do maybe 2-3 years ago, and you can't just jump to that. You got to progress yourself into something like that. Yeah.
So again, this knee-bola thing, let's get it out of there. I'm gonna hit it out right there. Get rid of that notion. The knees can go over the toes. They go over the toes a lot in day-to-day activities. It's all about what is your knee able to handle because of whatever you expose it to in your training. If you haven't exposed it to in a training, I wouldn't expect you to be able to ski. I wouldn't expect you to be able to go down 10 flights of stairs without some knee discomfort. But if you want to be able to do that, which I believe everyone should be able to go up and down stairs if they want to, you have to expose yourself to that in training.
Think about your intent before you do an exercise and what your goal is. Now, if your goal is to lift as much as possible, you want to have a good balance between knee and hip so they both can help out. The moment arms are all minimized by doing that. But if you need to do skiing or jumping or get back to high level exercises that require a lot of knee demand, you've got to train into it. That doesn't make sense for you to say, I don't want my knees to go over the toes when I squat, because in your sporting activity, you have to get good at that. And so you might as well train to perform. And so that's where, I'm not really sure, to go back to your initial question, where did it come from? I don't know. I don't really know.
I just feel like it was this big scary thing that maybe just circulated among the training and rehab realms, and it made sense to people because people that had sensitive knees were like, oh, if I don't let my knees go over the toes, they don't hurt anymore. Which again is a good strategy initially. It's just something that you can't maintain if in daily living and throughout your recreational and sporting activities, your knees have to go over your toes.
The worst thing too, like, not to get too much into diagnosis, but like patella tendon issues, people will feel some pain when they go into movement. But however, there's certain diagnoses like that you actually want to load into that discomfort, because that's how the tissue actually heals, is by loading it. Not necessarily into too much pain, but that's why you have to really think about the intent again with any exercise or movement that you put your body through.
So again, if you guys are still with us, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for following. Any closing comments you want to add?
Just think about your why behind your movement, and you'll be good. I think that's really what it comes down to.
So this was a popular topic that a lot of you had given us on some of our IG lives and comments. So keep letting us know in the comments below. Let us know if you like this type of video, these longer discussion type videos. Please give it a thumbs up as well and a subscribe.
Thanks guys for tuning in.
Grab guys out.